Hello and welcome to NBL Heat Check, our regular look around the world of hoops to see who is doing what and what it all means ahead of NBL 25. Joel Peterson with you alongside Michael Houben. Mick, good to be back. What's happening? NBA finals are over. That all happened yesterday. Shout out to Justin Tatum, by the way. He was there in the building to see his son get a chip, and the world of basketball is about to get very, very busy.
Yeah, things never stop. You've got the NBA finals. They've just finished. Now we're going into the NBA draft. It's only a week away. Our last show before the draft, a lot of NBA things are going to fall, and then subsequently a lot of NBL dominoes will fall as well.
So we start with Did You See That?, where we like to just whip around and find a few things that you might have missed around the place. Now, I haven't come with any commentary this week. I'm sorry, viewers. I know that it's what you hang out for on this program. I will go back to the grind block and I will get something for you for our next show. In the meantime, Steph Curry, don't know whether you heard of him. He plays a little bit of basketball. His dad, Del Curry, also played a little bit of basketball. They've launched a podcast. What do you reckon they've called it? Do we need to get the lawyers involved to see off this new Heat Check podcast of the Currys?
Well, they might be a little bit more credentialed to take the Heat Check name than us. I think our resumes don't quite stack up, but we got there first, so check your mailbox. Maybe we got some royalties in the mail.
Absolutely, you know, Steph, your tickets or anything like that, we're happy to be involved. Hey, from a Heat Check to a really icy check, Casey Prather last week, he was up at the Gabba as part of the MND, Fight MND round that the footy codes have been doing at the moment. He went into an ice bath in a Batman suit. I thought, tickets for style, tickets for presence. I'm not sure I would have been diving into the ice bath though.
Yeah, look, it's a great cause, and I'm looking at the outfit. It's a little bit like Batman from Wish. It's a bit second grade, but he handled the ice like a pro. He was unfazed. You could tell it was just regular recovery for him, really. Yeah, he was. He's an experienced campaigner in that space. Batman from Wish might be a little bit harsh. The Indigenous All-Star Game was a feature recently at a sort of NBL 1 level, so bringing together players from Aboriginal, Torres Strait Island, First Nations background from all around the country. They played Sacramento State, a really cool program. They got a win. A couple of NBL talents in Kai and Dennis, who spent some time at the Brisbane Bullets, and our man Dave O'Hickey, who just continues to ball out, doing really good things. Yeah, every year we see college teams come out and do, as part of their preseason, a tour of Australia. And there's a reason Sacramento State are often one of those programs. There's a lot of Australian links. They have been coached by David Patrick, one of the Boomers' assistants. He's moved on to LSU, but he's handed the keys to Mike Zeppel, another Australian coach doing amazing things over there. They've got 5 Aussies on the roster. They played against IBA. They also played against Knox. That IBA team came out gunning. They beat the Sac State team. And as you said, some fantastic young talents who we'll touch on later as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave O'Hickey just continues to do some really good things. And finally, CJ Bruton, NBL legend, of course. We've seen him recently coaching the Adelaide 36ers. We've seen him winning championship after championship. He's about to go into Basketball Australia's Hall of Fame.
Yeah, absolutely well-deserved, and a good acknowledgement of his fantastic playing career. 6 NBL championships, 2 Olympic campaigns, and he becomes only the second father-son duo along with his dad, Cal, as well as, of course, Andrew and Lindsay Gay, so some fantastic company there.
And I think people of our vintage grew up with CJ Bruton dominating the basketball landscape. He was one of the names. When you thought about Australian basketball, you thought about guys like CJ Bruton who were, really lighting the way at that stage.
Yeah, one of my favourite players growing up, watching him. I remember seeing him for the Breakers. That was about my time starting watching the NBL. And he's also moving on with his coaching career as well. He's joining the Beijing Ducks for next season. So a lot of great things happening for CJ at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. To CJ and all the Bruton family, congratulations. And hopefully that is an honour you enjoy and one that is absolutely richly deserved. Heaps to come here on NBL Heat Check. Next, we will head overseas. Let's swing abroad now. We start with an NBL connection. Alan Williams, big source. He spent a lot of time in this very studio calling games with us as part of our NBL broadcast. Unfortunately, though, he won't be part of the NBL family this season. We knew that he wasn't coming back to the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, but he has signed a contract to ply his trade elsewhere.
Yeah, we sort of saw this coming. We knew he wasn't coming back to the Phoenix, but you got the feeling that he kind of wanted to be back in the NBL. He has an affinity for the league, the country. He was an amazing advocate for the league while he was out here.
And the coffee.
Absolutely. Great commentator as well. He did everything while he was out here, but Now he's with South Korea. He's going to be playing in that league. A fantastic stop for him. I just hope we see him back sometime because he was a fantastic person and player on and off the court.
Yeah, the Sono Skyrunners, which is a great name. He got into his footy while he was here. I think he got behind the D's. And yeah, he was right into his coffee. I think whether we see him back in a basketball capacity or not, I've got a feeling that that Big Sauce and his partner Cassidy will be back in Australia before too long. His former South East Melbourne teammate Mitch Creek, he's heading back to familiar territory. He's joining the growing number of NBL stars plying their trade in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, getting the frequent flyer miles up. He's flying everywhere. He was in the CBA. He's now in Puerto Rico. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be an uneventful stop for Mitch. He didn't play a lot in the CBA. He'll play a lot more in Puerto Rico. He's an established player there. He averaged only 19 points a game when he played a full season there last season. But the reality is these guys are second last in the league. There's only 5 games remaining. The writing is pretty much on the wall, but hopefully gets a few good games in while he's over there.
And a bit of sun for Mitch as well.
Yes.
Worse places to be than Puerto Rico at this stage. Finn Delaney, who spent the last season with the New Zealand Breakers, Finn Diesel, he is heading to Japan on a new contract.
Another player that we thought we may not see, that was the buzz that he was going to move overseas for next season, and we finally have a destination. He's going to be playing in the B2 league, so again, not the number 1 B league. And let's be honest, we didn't see the best of Finn this past season. We know how great he is at the best of his game. But hopefully this stop is a great destination for him to build up a bit more momentum, a bit more confidence, and we'll see him back in a Breakers uniform again soon.
Yeah, he was an interesting prospect last year, wasn't he? I mean, he never really found the shot that we've known him for. He was in and out of that rotation for Modi Mayor in different minutes. Of course, a new coaching situation coming for the New Zealand Breakers, new opportunities for Finn, because we know that when he's at his best, he's a really damaging player.
Yeah, it felt uncharacteristic. We've seen him play fantastic basketball so many times before. It was still a really handy piece for the Breakers, no doubt. But prior to this season, he had a great stop in Germany. He's been all around the world and played fantastic in lots of different settings. And I imagine him to bump up those averages when he goes overseas.
And someone else that we've seen do some great things on the world stage is Thon Maker. His team's had some success of recent times as well.
Yeah, worth circling back on Thon because last time we spoke about him, they won the WASL, the West Asian Super League. That bumped them in to the Asian Championship League. So basically the championship winners from all the top Asian countries. We're talking the CBA, the PBA, the B League, and they're from Lebanon. They won it out of everyone. Thon was massive in the championship game. 26 points, 13 rebounds, 2 blocks, and now they joined the Intercontinental Cup.
They're not the only ones in the Intercontinental Cup. The Tasmania Jack Jumpers will be there as well. It's being held in Singapore later this year, so the Jackies as NBL champions, they earn the right to go and face some of the world's best. It's a really exciting format.
Yeah, first time we've seen an NBL team in this setting, and hey, we think the NBL is the second best league in the world. Well, we've finally got a benchmark to test it. We're going to verse teams from all sorts of continents. Basically, this event works as a team representing each continent in FIBA basketball. You've got teams from the G League will be represented. You've got teams from Europe, Asia, the BAL. Obviously, that Asian representative is going to be Al Riyadi, Thon Maker's team. If Thon's still with the program, I'd love to see Tassie versus Thon Maker. And of course, the great thing is the Jackies are going to have a lot of fun, but all us NBL fans get to get behind the Jackies and root for the NBL as a whole as well.
Yeah, it's going to have a captive audience with many Australian basketball fans, and it won't just be the one state that is behind the Jackies. It'll be the whole country at that point. So that's going to be one to watch over the next couple of months as that build up to that Intercontinental Cup continues. Well, the NBA Finals are in the books. As we head to the States, it's not the only basketball that's happening because, well, we get a week after the NBA Finals and the NBA Draft is on this time next week, which is so exciting for so many teams. Some really strong NBL connections this season as well. How are the prospects of NBL players looking in this NBA Draft? It's been such a watch throughout the course of the season. We've been following the mock drafts. There's been rises, there's been falls, there's been rises toward the back end, which has been nice.
Yes.
How's it looking as we get ever closer?
Yeah, we're at the pointy end now, only a week left, and everything's looking really positive. Both the next stars and our Aussies, guys like Johnny Furphy as well, all the stock is rising, but you never really know until draft night. I think particularly in a draft like this, all it takes is one trade out of nowhere or a couple of surprise picks, and it has a ripple effect for every other team that's picking as well. So we never really know where guys stand until it's all said and done.
The main man has been Alex Sarr. All season he's been mocked at right at the top, right at the pointy end of things. Is 1 or 2 his range in your mind?
Yeah, pretty small range. I think Alex is destined to be the #1 overall pick. I'd be shocked if he wasn't. I think what will be more interesting, will he be an Atlanta Hawk? They've got the #1 pick, but their roster's in a state of flux. They could trade it, they could keep it. A lot of things there that could possibly happen. But look, we saw Sarr across the season. We know what he's capable of. I think there's this intersection of a guy that is playing at his age a valuable role on a winning team. That's quite rare, but also had amazing upside and future promise as well. And I also think back to those G League Ignite preseason games. It was probably the best basketball we've seen him play, put up some amazing stat lines, and that was in a really NBA type setting as well. So I think he's going to be even better in the NBA, and I'm excited to see him at that next level.
If he doesn't go 1, does he fall below 2?
Impossible, in my mind at least.
Impossible? Right.
I cannot see it in this draft. There's been a few people vying for that top pick across the draft cycle. Guys like Ron Holland, their stock's actually been dropping a little bit. As far as I'm concerned, Sarr is the standout #1 player in this draft.
What a fillip that would be for the NBL to have Alex Sarr as the #1 pick in the NBA draft. There's plenty of other contenders though, and again we've seen these guys rise and fall throughout the course of the year. How do you stack the rest of the draft contenders up?
If I had to make a prediction, I think we're going to get 2 more first rounders out of the next stars, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. I think Bobby Klintman is the obvious one. He's been floating around that mid to late first round range throughout the entire draft cycle. I think that's pretty safe to say that he'll go around there. The other one is AJ Johnson. Now, we can see a lot of variance in this range here, anywhere from 36 to 48. Seems to be a second rounder. I think we could see a team fall in love with him and potentially get a first round promise.
Yeah, right. So like, what jumps out to you? So when you think AJ Johnson, what jumps out in terms of this guy is a first round draft pick?
It's all in the tools for me. I think there is immense potential in AJ. He has the size, the athleticism, the shot making. I think we saw improvement throughout the season. And when you have a draft like this, which is a little bit murky, maybe people are questioning its depth a little bit, having an enigma, someone that you can get enamored by the potential rather than production, is someone that you can fall in love with.
Hey, I mean, he's an upside player and he's such an exciting prospect. What about the likes of Flowers, Hukporti, Rupstavicius, we know is in the mix to potentially go in the second round as well? Where have you got the remainder of the NBL crop?
Yeah, as it all comes to fruition, I think we'll see maybe one of those guys get drafted. We'll see maybe all 3. I'd love to see Hukporti get drafted. We saw how incredible he is in his specific role, that rim runner role, the rebounding, defense. He really owned that role with United, was an immense impact player, and I think he can play a role at the NBA level. So someone should take a chance on him in the second round. Even if one of these guys get drafted in the second round, that's 4 players from the Next Star program in the NBA draft. Pretty fantastic. Yeah,
it's pretty exciting stuff for the NBL and for the Next Stars. They're not the only Aussies or with connections to Australia involved. Of course, Johnny Furphy, we've been tracking his progress all throughout the season. He's got an invite to the green room, which is only a good sign.
Yeah, when I saw him keep his name in the draft, I thought, okay, he's probably a first round pick. When I saw him in the green room, I thought, okay, this is a probable lottery pick. When you get the green room, it means things are going your way. And the reports are backing this up. Jonathan Gavoni from ESPN said that Chicago, Memphis, OKC and Sacramento were all interested in him. That's that 9 to 13 range that they all find themselves in. So it seems like his stock's really high. And don't get me wrong, if he gets drafted that high, I think he's more of a project than some of the other guys in that range. He only averaged 9 points a game at Kansas. That's lower than most guys. But this is a guy that was barely known 12 months ago. His surge has been fantastic, and they see the long-term potential in him.
Yeah, it's such an exciting prospect to see where he goes. On the Next Stars front, a name coming out of the draft, so removing themselves from contention, the Spanish prospect, so Ethan Almanza, he's pulled himself out of contention. There's been some reports around, including by ESPN's Olga Ulick, that he could be a contender for a Next Star spot, potentially with the Perth Wildcats. What does he bring to the table as someone who could be entering our orbit very soon?
The rumours have swirled for a while, and I'm just putting 2 and 2 together. This makes a lot of sense. They were waiting for his pending draft decision. He's obviously pulled out. He's assessing pro options. The Perth Wildcats have 2 spots left to fill, a wing spot and a backup big spot. The problem is they only have 1 roster spot remaining. That's where the Next Star process is so handy, because they don't take up a roster spot. They're exempt. So if Ethan Almanza takes up that backup big spot, then they can also go and get an import to replace Jordan Usher.
And we know that Usher won't be back because that was announced during the week. So some dominoes for the Perth Wildcats, and if they do go down that way, he's a very exciting prospect. It'll be interesting to see exactly how that unfolds. So NBA draft this time next week, that is going to be so much the focus of the basketball world, which is very exciting. Not too long after that, it'll be Summer League time. That's where we'll head next. Well, we might be in the depths of winter here in Australia, but the NBA Summer League is coming right up. It's going to be in Las Vegas, where it is very, very warm, and the man to my left is looking forward to soaking up the sun. You're heading over.
I'm heading over. The flights are booked. I should make it to Vegas, I hope. Hopefully I can withstand the heat. I've enjoyed it for many years on the tally. This is one of my favourite times of the year. You get to see all the first round picks and the second and third year guys trying to establish themselves. Obviously a lot of Aussies around these days as well. It's just so much fun and I'm excited to be going.
So if you come at this from an NBL team perspective, what are they going to Summer League looking for, trying to get out of that process?
Yeah, look, everyone is at Summer League and we know there's a lot of import spots left to be filled. That's probably the primary motivation for these teams over there. Now, everyone will be putting in work. As I said, I think there's about 7 import spots still to be filled, but there's 2 teams that are really going to have their work cut out for them. That's the Adelaide 36ers and the New Zealand Breakers. Now, Adelaide have 2 import spots to fill, that 1 and that 4. I look at their roster, I feel like they lack a bit of depth at the moment. Nailing those import spots is going to be essential for their season. As for the break as well, I like their roster so far. It's looking really promising, but they're in a state of flux. Modi is no longer at the helm. They're going to have to sort out that coaching situation and get 2 more imports as well.
And then the coaching situation, of course, has an impact on who they go for.
Absolutely.
From an imports perspective, and maybe whether that changes what they're looking for. And we know that they had such a high upside last season, they couldn't string it all together. They'll be a really interesting watch to see exactly where they go and what direction the Breakers go.
Yeah, I'm curious to see in what order the dominoes fall. Do you get the coach and then the coach dictate the players they get, or do they just make a captain's call and be like, look, whoever's going to take the helm, they're going to have to deal with these players because we're in love with this guy and we want to take him right now.
So in terms of NBL players who are involved, we expect to see the likes of Luke Travers. We mentioned Ariel Hook-Porty in a draft chat. He could be vying for a spot to try and boost his status depending on, whether he gets drafted. He's playing for, some kind of, guaranteed deal off the back of that draft. Who are you looking forward to seeing? And I guess it probably all starts with this man.
Yeah, Luke's going to be a really interesting one. He's done a few summer leagues now, and the thing is we don't know exactly what the rosters are going to look like, but we could make some pretty accurate predictions. We know the next stars are going to be drafted and on a roster. We know Johnny Furphy's going to be on a roster and playing. Now, there's going to be a lot of NBL guys as well. I think Will Magnay's been knocking on the NBA door, Joe Lawler-Chul. They might want to have a go around in summer league. And some of the younger guys as well. We know Jalen Galloway is affiliated with the Bucks now. He'll probably get a run around. McCool Maker's been in the G League. There's so many names that we could see potentially playing in Summer League this year. And
positively, we saw a couple of guys probably play them outside of Summer League contention. Duop Reith, probably not going to Summer League. He was that good with the Portland Trailblazers that he might have the option to skip it, which is a really exciting prospect for him. When you think about, and I guess the reasons that you're heading over there, what are your favourite things when you either watching from a distance, or what are you looking forward to up close, being able to, I guess, assess some of these prospects in person?
It's a totally unique setting, and I think back to last season, Alex Sarr is obviously going to be the #1 pick this season, but this time last year, Wemby was the #1 pick. And it was the first time these Spurs fans, obviously excited about drafting him, got to see him in the US, in person. He stepped onto the floor. Every time he'd catch it, the crowd would go wild. I don't think Alex is going to get the same level of pandemonium, but as a #1 pick, I'm sure whoever drafts him, that fan base is going to be so excited, and the room is going to be palpable while he plays.
There'll be plenty of people watching him, plenty of people out west watching him. That's where some of the pandemonium might be. They'll be forever attached to Alex Sarr, those Perth Wildcats fans. So July 8th, it all begins. The NBA Summer League, it is such a crucial step, not only for the NBA teams, but for the NBL teams in building their rosters. And Michael Houben will be our man on the ground to bring you all the action from NBA Summer League. So we spent plenty of time abroad. Let's return our focus to home. There's heaps happening in the NBL 1 at the moment. As always, some really big numbers in the last couple of weeks. We start with Bawali Bales, who put up 44 points across the course of the weekend. You can see his averages there across his last 6. He's really making an impact.
Yeah, we spoke about that Indigenous Basketball Australia team, but while he's probably the most exciting talent on that team, we've seen him at a few NBL stops now, Illawarra, Sydney. We know what he does well. He can score the rock. He's shifty, he's confident, a big-time shot maker, 44 points in his last game, a phenomenal performance. I can't wait to see him continue to build on this and hopefully get another NBL gig.
He's a big physical prospect as well, so he's got that size and that power to really make things happen. Johnny Narkle's been another one who's been really impressive of recent times, so playing out west. Is he someone that maybe we could see on an NBL roster down the track?
I think this is a great target for a development player. Johnny Narkle is a fantastic player, only 22 years old in his own right. And look, a number of years of development player potential ahead of him. He's someone, what I love about him is his trajectory. He's come from year to year, a sixth man, to someone who surged at the end of last season. He was NBL on West Finals MVP. Now he's one of the best players in the conference. I really like his game. It's smooth, it's effortless, it's long. I see real two-way potential at the NBL level.
Some good news for the Brisbane Bullets as well, recently signing a DP, and we can see Kai Savage there, who's again been putting up some really strong numbers.
Yeah, thank you for vindicating me, Kai. I spoke about him earlier. I called him Nathan Sobey-esque. It was a big claim. He put up 38 points in his last outing. So thank you, Kai. It was a phenomenal performance. He's a big-time shot maker, and what I loved about it was he barely took any dribbles to get his points as well. There was a lot of shooting off movement, one dribble pull-ups, the occasional drive, but that off-ball utility is what's going to translate to the NBL level, especially early in his career.
He was so 7 of 9 from three-point range. Does he have that kind of Sobey streakiness to his game?
Absolutely, that is him to a T. He is someone who can be a microwave scorer, someone that just gets hot. He might take some shots where you start to question it a bit, but he knows they're going in. He's on a roll. He's that sort of player.
In South Australia, AK Gak, who we've spoken about recently, he's been continuing to just be on an absolute tear. 32 and 5 for West Adelaide recently, then 23 and 13 this weekend. He just continues to rack those numbers up.
Big time numbers. He had 37 points in the game preceding that as well, so he's in fantastic form. The intriguing thing for me, the three-point shot's still not dropping. He's doing this in spite of that. If that shot starts dropping, then these numbers are going to be even more inflated. Hopefully it translates to that season with the Taipans. And
there's plenty of other players that are doing great things around the place as well. You know, Makwatch Malawatch with 20 points recently. Kuat Noi's been scoring the ball, and the self-declared best player on the Darwin Salties and in the NBL one. We love what Kuat Noi brings to the team, but there's lots of names at the moment who are really pressing their case to maybe bigger roles. We spoke about it right off the top in the very first episode. There's opportunities aplenty in the NBL one for NBL players. And there's a lot of guys making the most of it at the moment.
Yeah, this is your way to stand out. We've spoken about the Salties. I love that team. Great to see those guys doing their thing. Tyrell Harrison's putting up 25 and 12. I'm excited for his season with the Bullets. And then there's guys you always know are just going to kill it in this competition. Guys like Tanner Krebs and Isaac White as well. Great stuff from them.
However, now we've got some big numbers there. But there was one game across the course of the weekend that caught my eye, and I'm contractually obliged to mention the Bendigo Braves at any particular opportunity. The Bendigo Braves women played the Knox Raiders women at the weekend. Amy Atwell, absolute bucket, had 50, and lost on the other team. So they lost by 2, 87-85, really, really close game. And then Alicia Froling had 29 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists. So someone who got 50 lost to someone who had a 29-point triple-double. Absolutely just eye-popping, sort of video game numbers.
It's one of those fabled box scores, right? You look at it and you just know that that was an amazing game. And I think of the perspective of someone like Amy. She put up a 50-piece. Got to be bittersweet in a loss. But surely you go home a little bit chuffed still thinking, well, I put up a 50-piece. I did my job. I feel pretty happy about my efforts.
Kind of like the 100 in a losing side in cricket. It's almost the ultimate. But yeah, if we were playing 2K, if we were playing NBL 1 2K, I would go the Bendigo Braves, no doubt about that. I would probably try and get 50 with Amy Atwell, and I would lose. So that runs true to form. I can imagine you and I just gaming away and basically playing out that exact contest. So
I love it. I want to see this NBL 1 2K. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, that could be, between the Heat Check podcast and us taking Steph Curry to the cleaners in the court of law and our new NBL 1 2K game. We could be onto a couple of winners here. Still more to come here on NBL Heat Check. This is NBL Heat Check. Joel Peterson, Michael Houben, rounding things out for another week. Still plenty of roster spots to be filled, and we've talked about the way that teams can, I guess, fill them out. So Summer League coming up, and there's lots of players playing in NBL 1 and around the competitions. In your eyes, when you look at NBL rosters right now and depth charts and that kind of thing, where do you see sort of the gaps? Where are there spots left? Where's there opportunity for people?
Yeah, look, I was having a look at the rosters, and give or take, I think there's about 9 local spots left. Now, we get on the show every week, we jump on the stools, we're handing out roster spots like Oprah. We're saying, you get a roster spot, you get a roster spot. At the end of the day, there's only a few to go around, and it's not just about best player available, it's also about who fits the culture, who fits the positional need or the skill set. I think there's a number of positions going around. We've heard Gorgon speak about their third string point guard position. I think guys we've spoken about like Bawali Bales or Kyle Zunic. I think Tad Duffelmeyer is another name that should be in that short list. We've seen Southeast Melbourne, they need a 4 and a 5 at the local spots. I think of guys like Mango Matiang. Tom Vodanovic is another name, a tour maker. These guys would be great fits there. Now, the other thing is the wing spot. I see around the league a few wing spots that need to be filled. The Taipans need 1, maybe 2, depending on the Taron Armstrong situation. The Breakers need another 1. I think that bodes really well for guys like Kai Statman or Ruben Tarangi who don't have a spot right now.
Is there one spot that you think at the moment, that is a good landing place for a particular local talent, like that, that Cairns wing spot, for example? We've sort of spoken about that, we've flagged that. Is there someone you'd like to see get that spot?
Yeah, we've spoken about Cody Statman. He has been phenomenal this season. He's taken a massive leap in the NBL 1 competition. He's been around the Cairns Taipans before as well.
Yep.
That to me is a no-brainer. He's someone that's ready to take a leap. We know the Taipans have opportunity available for players like Statman. I'd love to see that come to fruition.
And we've seen, guys like Luke Rosendale continue to go really well at that level. We mentioned Johnny Narkle, who's someone who's a little bit newer on the scene. So whether it's an established player or it's someone who's a little bit newer, and these players develop at different rates. Some guys come along really quickly. It takes them a little bit longer. They might have to, sort out that kind of professional attitude to basketball. But you can pick up anyone at any point in their basketball journey, and it could be a real winner for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some things we do sometimes in the Australian basketball landscape is we get used to prioritising guys based on their legacy, based on their reputation from the past. And sometimes we can overlook those late bloomers or guys that maybe slip through the cracks. So guys like Johnny Narkle, the late bloomers, maybe haven't come through the nationals or mainstream pathways, are really good options for these teams.
Before we get out of here, we do have to mention one more thing, and it's been very, very useful in preparing this show, is the new NBL 1 website. So consolidated platform, all the stats, you can sort them out into essentially national order. So you can go in there and find who's the leading scorer in the country. Bang, right there in front of you. It's for anyone who isn't necessarily in depth following one particular team or one particular competition, that new NBL 1 website is it's a go-to location.
Yeah, it's so handy. This may not be a surprise to you, Joel, but I do like perusing the stats and going through. So the new update was welcome to me. It definitely makes my life a lot easier, and yeah, I think everyone should check it out. So
there goes Michael's social life for the next little while, because the NBL 1 website is there, and if you had an appointment with him, I'd cancel it. He's not going to be showing up for that. He will be showing up here for NBL Heat Check. He will be heading to Summer League too as well. Fingers crossed, the tickets are booked. Mick, as always, good fun. Love talking hoops with you, and we look forward to seeing you next time with the NBA draft in the books.
Thanks, mate. It'll be a pleasure. A lot to talk about next episode for sure.
Who knows? Who knows? Good luck to everyone who is in that NBA draft pool as well from an NBL perspective. Thanks for your company here on NBL Heat Check. We'll see you next time.